How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. So in today's video, we did a little bit of work off camera. We got the engine bay on the Hellcat all painted. It turned out great. Now it is time to get the Hellcat off the frame machine and get the engine reinstalled. So we're gonna get it rolled off, get it over to the mechanical lift, and get this thing put back together and get it running and driving under its own power once again. So let's jump right into it and get this thing off the frame machine. So I got a lot of work done here. After the bay was painted and everything, I went through and started reassembling some of the stuff I had taken off before I started doing the frame rail work. I got all the wiring harnesses rerun, fuse box reinstalled, bracketry and everything is back in, and got the ABS pump and everything reinstalled and partially connected here. I am going to have to get a new ABS module for it because it is damaged from the collision, but it is on back order from Mopar at the moment, so I have to wait until one comes available so I can get that changed out. But it does work. It does allow the car to start for the moment, so it's connected back at the meantime. Everything's routed and connected as far as I can go. Also got this side largely back together. Wiring is run. Everything's clipped back into its correct places. Grounds are reattached. And we got the bracket for the supercharger pump, coolant pump reattached. I'm gonna continue on with installing some components here, but basically the next part that we're gonna go for is reinstalling the subframe so we can put the wheels back on and roll the car back over to the lift to get the drivetrain reinstalled. I must say these wiring diagrams from Mopar are very, very helpful. Shows you all the routing and everything as far as where the harnesses are attached and whatnot, where each little branch goes off. The ABS sensors were confusing me a little bit, even though I had just taken them off. I forgot where they went, which holes they went into, so this shows you each place where they go, and that's really nice, really helpful. And it also, helps you out with where the grounds and everything on the opposite side go. Awesome diagrams, really appreciative of those. So I'm gonna take a pause here and get this ready to put the subframe back in. I've got all new hardware and everything to get it mounted, so it should be no problem. Gonna get this slid back under, get the wheels on it, and get it off the frame machine for the first time in a little while here. Subframe bolted back in, suspension is connected. It is time to get this thing unclamped from the frame machine, get some wheels back on it, and finally have it sitting on its own wheels for the first time in about 2 months since we started doing these frame rails. I'm super excited. Gonna grab the wheels from the corner, get them put back on, and get this thing sitting back on the bench under its own weight. finally have the drivetrain ready to be mated back to the subframe assembly. I do have a couple things to do to this drivetrain before it goes back on the subframe. I did already put in the new oil dipstick and the new dipstick tube. I went to the new style stick instead of the old one. This is the one they use in the newer Hellcats, and it is much easier to read the level than the stringy one, the twine kind of corded one. So I decided to switch to that and the new tube to work with it. I am going to do new motor mounts. You can see this one's pretty well junk and the other one's the same way, if not worse. So I'm going to install 2 new mounts, and then we have to put new transmission cooler lines on this as well. The front tips of both lines were damaged in the collision. I had to cut this one to loop it when I first got the car, and this one's kinked and whatnot, and I'm sure it's not going to fit back on the new transmission cooler once we get it installed. So those run back here behind the motor mount, up over yonder to East Timbuktu, and back to the left side of the tranny. So we're going to get those swapped out as well, because it's next to impossible to fish those in with the drivetrain in the car. It's going to be much easier to do it with it out of the vehicle. So I'm going to get started on installing the new mounts. Probably while I have this mount out of the way, I will get these lines changed out just for ease of access, and then I will go ahead and get the other one changed out. Once we got both of those done, we'll get this lifted up. I got this kind of rigged up so we can lift the whole thing as a unit, and then it will go back onto the subframe there, and the subframe will make its way right back on over to the engine bay it came out of, which is all set and ready to accept it. New frame rails are looking good. Everything's installed from the bottom, and I did decide to separate the shocks from the suspension this time going through. I think it's going to make it easier to put the unit up instead of having to align the shocks at the same time. I did have trouble with that the last time, even without the engine in there. So I'm going to see if we can make it a little bit easier. I did go ahead, like you saw, and already installed a new tunnel insulation, because the old one that was in the car was all ripped up and looked disgusting here on both sides. So I went ahead and put that in. So now we're pretty much ready to go. Steering shaft's ready to connect. Neutral release cable is ready to connect. And we got all new bolts to get that drivetrain bolted back into the car. So we'll get started on getting that changed out, get that thing ready to go, and then we will get it back in the vehicle. Guys, we got everything reinstalled for the drivetrain. Everything is reconnected. This thing is ready to start except for one thing. I do have to fill the transmission with fluid, and before I do that, I am going to be putting a new pan on it. The pan does have some damage from the loaders at Copart, so I do have a new pan for it already. I'm going to get that installed right now, buzz that out, fill it with the correct amount of fluid, and then we should be ready to give this thing its first start with the engine installed after all the framework. Let's get this transmission pan knocked out, and then we'll see how this thing runs. So the pan is off, a great piece of fun. All 4 of the back bolts break on these when they come out. As gentle as you can be, it doesn't matter, they snap almost immediately. The rest of them come out perfectly fine. The ones where there's no access through the top, maybe there is. One of the two, but for whatever reason, in the back, these all break. So it's almost like they happen to know that this is going to happen, because when you get the transmission pan kit from Opar, they give you a bag of bolts. For whatever reason, they decided that it was a great idea, or ZF decided it was a great idea when building this trans to make the bolts out of aluminum. So the bolts are very, very weak and don't like to hold up to the very, very mere turning torque of removing them from the transmission. But now I have it ahead of me to drill out those 4 bolts and get those broken pieces removed before we can put the new pan up. So I am going to get on that right now, get those 4 drilled out of there. Hopefully they drill pretty easily, being aluminum. We can get those out of there without much of a fight. A couple hours later, we got 4 new helicoiled holes in here. They're M6 bolts, just a standard 1.0 thread. Got them all drilled out. The aluminum's real easy to drill through. As long as we keep it straight, we're good to go. New threaded inserts in there, and we are ready to get the new pan put on, put the new filter on, and get all of this tightened down correctly. It is a very, very light torque. It's basically hand tight on these things going back in. I did research after having these 4 break yesterday, and I'm not the only person to have this happen. A bunch of guys on the Hellcat forums have also reported that they've run into this broken bolt issue also when installing them. So you've got to be really careful not to over tighten these things when you go in with the new pan and the new bolts. So I'm going to get the filter snapped in, and then we're going to get the new pan fitted up and get all the new bolts installed and gently torqued. We're finally ready for the first start. We got the brakes bled all the way around. We got the new pan installed, and I just did the initial fill on the transmission. So we're gonna start it and then let it warm up, and we'll check the level per ZF's checking procedure on these cars. Everything else is all set. Oil's full, coolant's full. We're gonna lower it down, reconnect the battery, and then we should be ready for the first start after this framework was done. Let it prime up the fuel a couple times where it's been off. Then I'm gonna clear flood mode to let it crank and build up some oil pressure, so gas and brake at the same time. And we will press the button. That should give us enough oil pressure. We gotta keep in mind we gotta fill the cooler, and the filter was pre-filled. So doing this a couple times does not hurt, especially after it's been sitting for all the months that it has. Looks like everything's starting to come back online. Yep. Alrighty. And here we go. Well, I'd say she's happy. That went way better than I expected. We don't have any leaks. Oil system looks good. The cooler's not leaking. We got no coolant leaks. So I'd say that was a successful first start. Brake system all looks good. Yeah, nothing is leaking. That's awesome. All right, I'll put it back up in the air, check for additional leaks underneath, check the tranny and whatnot, and then I'll go ahead and put the drive shaft in. We'll get the wheels back on and get this thing sitting on all fours, and then it'll move across the building and continue getting the body work done on the quarter in the next video. that is going to be the end of today's video. As you can see, we got the engine reinstalled in the Hellcat. Everything went back together really nice. Everything lined up and fell back in place as easily as it was, as if it were being built on the assembly line. I am super happy with how everything turned out and getting that engine put back in. This is going to end off today's video. In the next video, we're going to start working on the quarter panel and the rear end damages on the car, getting all the new sheet metal cut out and welded in. If you like this video and you want to see the next part of this project come together in the next video to follow, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend if they might also like it, drop a comment down below if there's anything else you'd like to see, and as always, you guys, have an awesome day.